Okay. Hi, this is Lowell, and I am here on assignment in the Land of Promise for the Laura and Lowell Show, filming our Love Israel with Laura and Lowell TV interview series. And our guest this morning is Mark Feldman of Zion Tours. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
We are here in Jerusalem on Hillel Street in Mark's office. And Mark is the CEO of Zion Tours.
Correct.
And we're going to talk about tourism to the land of Israel. So Mark, is it my imagination or has tourism been picking up in the last few years?
I think we have peaks and bounds. I think the Christian tourist comes here all the time, and the Jewish groups come here depending upon the economy. The largest market is the United States. So when there's problems on the stock market, less tourists come. It's a basic question of disposable income. When the security situation here is not stable, less people come. So for the last few years, we've seen the economy picking up in the U.S. We've seen the security situation pretty much stabilized, though the Arab Spring caused a lot of problems, and a lot of people didn't quite understand that Egypt and Libya are not right next to Israel. So this year will be the largest of incoming tourists ever. We should get over 3 million tourists this year.
In 2012?
We're only in July, but hopefully the next 5 months we'll keep the numbers going. That's what we're aiming for.
Wow, that's terrific. Now the tourism to Israel, is it mostly religious tourism of various forms, Jewish, Christian, or other? Why does someone come to Israel? Mr. Joe Tourist, he comes to Israel. Is he religious? Is that the primary basis?
I wouldn't say. I'd say the Christians, they're certainly coming here because of the Holy Land and because of all of the sites and walking in Jesus' footsteps, and that's why the Christian pilgrims come here. The Jews come here for a variety of reasons. It could be political, groups like AIPAC, groups like presidential people like Mitt Romney coming here. It could be because of a connection here, maybe family members. It could be the birthright groups, which we've had over 300,000 people coming to discuss their heritage, their roots. So I don't like to use the word religious, I would just like to say it's more cultural. This is Israel. We're home to 3 major religions, okay? Most of us have grown up hearing or reading or seeing something about it. So at some time when people can afford it, because it's not always cheap to come here,
right,
or to stay here, people want to come to Israel.
That was what I meant. Whether it's religious or cultural or ethnic, no one in general just comes to Israel because we have nice beaches. You can have your 747 go a few minutes to the left, land in Greece, Turkey, Cyprus, or Rhodes for far less money and have nice beaches. So there's some kind of a spiritual, intellectual, archaeological, historical, cultural, religious basis.
With one exception, since you mentioned that. Scandinavians and Germans are sent here by the governments,
really?
Okay, on their expenditure to go to where? The lowest point on earth, the Dead Sea. Sufferers of psoriasis, okay, which is covered by the medical insurance there, go to the Dead Sea to be healed. They actually go there so their skin dries out, and they spend there for a month at the Dead Sea hotels, paid for by their HMOs.
Wow, that's incredible. Years ago in the Wall Street Journal, they had a front page center column story on the Yam HaMelech, the Salt Sea, or the Dead Sea as it's popularly known, where the insurance, who I didn't know was just Germany and Scandinavia, all expenses paid would pay people, as Mark said, to come to the spas down at the Dead Sea, and it works. No, it's no question that it works.
I'm not a medical expert, but it seems to work if they're doing it. But other than those, you're right. The vast majority of tourists that come here are coming because of the connection to Israel and not because of our geography.
Let me ask you a question, Mark. You were telling me when I first came into your office that you're from the right coast, which for those of us from New York means the west coast, which means the west coast of the Hudson River, because the rest of the country is on the other side of the Hudson River. Mark came from California, dreaming Los Angeles.
LA, born and bred.
Mark, did you go surfing in California?
I don't know if I went surfing, but I grew up along the beach, and that was my backyard. I liked what Los Angeles offered, and for me, Jerusalem's not too different from Los Angeles. You know, we have the old city. In LA, I had Disneyland. We have a whole variety of different things here that make Jerusalem, especially the most, in my opinion, the most unique city in Israel.
Yeah, it's when you say about Jerusalem being a unique city, I had an honorary grandfather. His name was Fritz Kaufmann. He was from Austria, had to flee in 1938. He was a journalist. He was a captain in World War I in the Austro-Hungarian Army, which is pretty good for a Jew, also in the cavalry. He'd been all over Europe as a journalist. He'd been all over the world. And when he came with his wife to visit Jerusalem, he said to me, and he died in 1991, he said, "I've been everywhere. But I said, Jerusalem's a nice city, isn't it?" He said, "What do you mean a nice city? It is the most beautiful city in the world." So he said what you said.
I definitely, we work with doctors from Hadassah. We work with professors from Hebrew University. We work with high-tech venture capitalists here. So the combination, this hedge pot, melting pot of Jerusalem, excites me still after 30 years. And I actually find it stimulating. Walking the streets and hearing the Tower of Babel, the French tourists, the Germans, the Australians, the South Africans, it's just wonderful. It's just really, really exciting.
I have to say Mark is way ahead of me, because when at least for myself, I came to Israel with my wife and girls on April 1st, April Fool's Day 1992. We celebrated our Aliyah in April 2 months ago, 3 months ago. After a while, it's hard for me to hear Hatikva, Jerusalem of Gold, and the theme, Ernst Gold's theme song from Exodus playing in the background. It's throughout the garbage walk with dogs. Yes, it's a nice city, but I think you have more of the spark that maybe because you deal with tourists more, maybe you're picking up more of the energy from them that they bring with them that I get throwing out the garbage, recycling the bottles, and walking the dogs. No disrespect intended to dogs, bottles, or what was the third category I mentioned? I forgot. Whatever it was. So it sounds like you really hear the music, and I would like to do that myself a little bit more.
I think the reason that I chose Zion too is just because I'm a Zionist. I really believe in this country. I really believe in our hopes. I think we're a very young country, and I think there's a lot of challenges ahead. And I'm very happy and proud to be a part of it, to making history and seeing history unveiled. And I am definitely still very happy and excited and proud to be here.
Here's an esoteric question. We have the Mayan calendar 2012, December 21st coming up, and I know there's some hill in southern France that all sorts of end-of-the-worlders, hippie, San Francisco Summer of Love, Woodstock types are going to camp out on waiting to be picked up by space aliens to get extraterrestrial. There's some mountain in France like that. Are you seeing any kind of esoteric end times interest in the Mayan calendar and the end of the world and the beginning of the new world reflected in any kind of tour groups coming to Jerusalem, in particular Israel in general? Is that showing up in the radar at all?
Not yet. I mean, December is a busy month already because of Christmas. I can tell you that I make wages about once a year with my Christian tourists who come to me and tell me that the world is coming to an end, that they've read it. And over the last 20 years, I've dined out tremendously because I keep taking their wages. There's always a certain group or a certain group of believers that believe that this time has come. You can come back to me in January and we can see if I'm still around.
Okay. What about niche tourism? You got several million tourists coming here. Most people are coming for ethnic, religious, historic, or some kind of personal, emotional connection reasons. How about I've read about Aborigines coming from Australia, Native Indians from Canada, Hindus. What about small elements within the tourism market, or what does this talk about, branding, whatever that is, and reaching out to certain professional or other kinds of groups to come to Israel?
Well, you have a lot. There's a lot more. In other words, when we talk about the bulk of the 3 million, a lot, the southern part of Israel, is marketed by itself as a holiday destination. In other words, there are flights directly from London, directly from France, directly from Rome that don't go to Rome, that don't go to Jerusalem, that don't go to Tel Aviv. They spend a week in Eilat on the beach, scuba diving, seeing the coral reefs, swimming with the dolphins. So for them, Eilat is a destination in and of itself. And even when I go there, I feel sort of like a tourist with all the sea and sun. You've got up north, you've got the Galilee, which is a beautiful area. So you have a lot of people coming for hiking. We have the Jesus Trail, which is an outdoor thing, so I suppose it combines with your religious, but there's a lot of hikers that come here. A lot of niche tourism does exist here. Bikers coming over here, vintage cars passing by here, going over the Middle East and everything, reliving how it was 100 years ago. There's a lot of niche tourism. You name it, it exists here. Bird watching,
Right, about birds. Our neighbor's younger son would go with his father all over the country because, in case you don't know, I don't mean Mark don't know, I mean our audience, that Israel is a big bird tourist destination center on their way coming and going from Europe, Asia, to and from Africa. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of these birds end up flying over the Temple Mount for some reason as part of their pathway.
I think so, but I would imagine because it's not so much the Temple Mount, but because we have that big golden dome, which attracts even small planes. In other words, I give it credit not so that it's the Temple Mount, but because of what's on the Temple Mount.
The byproduct is if you go to the Western Wall Plaza or you go up on the Temple Mount, there are lots of birds circling and flying all over the place. So yeah, there's a lot coming and going here also in the animal world as well as the human world. So we're very glad that, Mark, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. And we wish you a lot of success with Zion Tours, and it should be a bumper crop year for tourism. And we want you all coming here to visit us in Israel. So thank you, Mark, for the interview, and thanks everyone for watching and listening.
Shalom, shalom.
Great.
Okay.
Let me just clean up the desk a little bit here. Just want some more.